G'day guys, welcome back. Today I just wanted to talk to you about flat tyres in motorhomes. No one wants them, no one likes them. Well, I don't think anyone likes them. And I realised I've had this motorhome for about 6 months now, or maybe for longer, 8 months now, and I never checked to see if I could change the spare wheel. I remember the dealer said to me, look at this little camera hog. He said to me, all the stuff you need for a flat tyre to change a spare tyre is under the driver's seat. And I just forgot about it. There's so many other things to take in. I never thought about it. And just the other day I thought, yeah, if I get a flat tyre, I don't even know if I can change it. One, we all need to know how to change a flat tyre. That's important, whether it's a motorhome, car, caravan, or whatever. Two, we've always got to make sure that we've got the right equipment to change a flat tyre. And three, we've got to make sure that equipment works. I know with some motorhomes, mine in particular, the rear wheel is under the back of the van, and you've actually got to wind it down. And I know sometimes it can get a bit corroded or dusty or dirty, and the mechanism that winds the wheel down sometimes gets jammed. So I've got to every now and again give that a grease or a spray with silicone spray or WD, whatever you do. But yeah, today I just wanted to show myself, prove to myself that I can, if I get a flat tyre, front wheel or rear wheel, that I can change it. I can raise the van, unwind the spare wheel, remove it from the back, take the wheel off, put a new wheel on, and tighten them all the wheel nuts back on again and drive off. So that's what this video is about. Yeah, if you're out there and you've got a motorhome, I'd seriously consider doing the same thing, or at least watch this video and see how it's done. I think they're all fairly similar. Sit back and enjoy the show. Okay, so inside my van, under my driver's seat, and I think the best way to access this is by just sliding my seat forward. And that exposes all the little tools under the seat that I believe will allow me to change a flat tyre. So let's see what I've got. Okay, so I've just taken the tools out of my little toolbox, and here they are lying on the ground. I hope you can see them all. So just to go through them, this little guy here, he is my towing hitch. He actually attaches to the front of the van. If ever I need a tow, I attach this point, and a tow truck can tow me out using this. Okay, now this guy is my, it's quite obvious, he's my jack. My wind-up jack. Now it came with this other little plastic bit on top, and at first it was a mystery to me, but I've just read the manual, and apparently if I'm jacking up one of the front tyres, one of the front wheels, I leave this, this is referred to as a heightener. A bit of a funny word, but it does exactly what it says it does. It increases the height of the jack. So yeah, if I'm doing the front wheels, I leave that on, but if I'm jacking up from the back, I excuse me, take that off. I just use the jack without the heightener. Okay, this little guy here, he is the winch unlocking key, and that's the tool that I use to raise and lower the spare wheel that's tucked up underneath the van. This here is my wheel brace, and this also, again, I'm always doing this one-handed, which is a bit awkward. This also fits snugly into my winch unlocking key. You can see in the van that's where it's going to go into if ever I need to lower that tyre. And this little guy, which was a mystery to me at first, he is my hubcap remover. Alrighty, so they're the tools. Let's see how they go. So I've got a flat tyre. Actually I haven't, which is pretty good, but I'm just practicing. So if you see at the rear of my little van, I think it's the same for a lot of Jaycos, you can see a little hole here, and I'll try and get under the van. You can see this little extension piece goes through this hole, goes under the van, through to that hole there, and inside you may see female connection, and that's where the end of this guy, that's where the end of this guy here fits into, and he's going to lower the spare wheel. So let's give that a try. If I look through here, I can actually see the little hole. So I'm not sure how well this comes up on the camera, but I've got him smack bang in that little hole there, and as you can see it's not long enough to stick out, and that's when my tyre lever comes into play. My little tyre lever, I push through, give him a bit of a turn, and now that's locked in. So that will raise and lower my spare wheel, which is up under here. Okay, so the way I look at it, if I turn this clockwise, you look underneath now as I'm turning it clockwise. Yep, there you go. You can see that rear wheel dropping down. Okay. Surprisingly, it doesn't take that many turns. I'm just missing my little tow bar here, which is good. So where are we now? It's just about there. So about a dozen turns. And I've got my spare tyre on the ground now. Okay, so you can see that is now very loose, which means there's no weight underneath it. So from here, a couple more turns, I should be able to go underneath and grab my tyre. Okay, so I'm under the van in a very awkward position. I've just lifted up this little plate here. I'm not sure how well this shows up in the video, and that's what holds the tyre on. So now that I've just raised this little plate, lifted out from the tyre, from the wheel, sorry, now I can drag my spare wheel out. Not the easiest job, I have to admit, but at least I know I can do it. There we go. So there she is. There's my spare wheel. So at least I know now that I can get this spare wheel off. And I'll now, because I haven't got a flat tyre, I'm going to reattach it and wind it back into place again. Okay, so I'm pushing the tyre back into place by foot. Whew. Okay, once again, hopefully you can see this little piece here. I'll just slip him down through the hole. I'm just going to find that, there he is, find the midway hole there, push him down through, there he is. Hopefully you can see that, and I'll start winding him up and see that he goes back into place. Anti-clockwise to raise and clockwise to lower. So any minute now I should see, there we go, the tyre finding its centre position. And raising back up again. There we go. And you know when it's fully raised because you simply can't turn this lever around anymore. So before I do it completely, I'll just check that that little plate is in the centre of the tyre. Yeah, so I'm back under the van. There's my tyre nearly all the way up. I put the camera underneath and I can feel that little plate. Yeah, he's pretty much in the centre of the tyre. Continue winding anti-clockwise until I feel that tyre stop, the wheel stop. I keep on saying tyre, I mean wheel. Whew, okay, front wheel. I've decided to do a front wheel raise. This time I've decided I'm going to get a flat tyre on the shady side. Okay, so I'm just going to remove the hubcap. And you see the 5 wheel nuts. Now one thing you do before you actually raise the motorhome, raise the wheel off the ground, is loosen off these wheel nuts. And more times than not you won't be able to do this by hand because they're on too tight. So what I do is I just tread down on each nut, on each bolt, and once again anti-clockwise loosens. There we go. Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to do that by hand. And if you do this, if you try and do this when you've raised the wheel, you'll just make the wheel spin. So you don't undo them completely, you just loosen them a touch so that when the time comes you can loosen them by hand. There we go. Oops. This one. Okay. So they're all done. Oh, this is the one I didn't do. There we go. So they've all just been backed off a little bit, and that'll make my job easier when the wheel is off the ground. Alright, so I might not have mentioned this before, but this is my little RM20.5. I've got the jack with the heightener back on it, and if I go underneath, I can see the strong point here. You see this big steel section here, and at the front there's two. There's a big hole and a little hole. I've noticed that the heightener fits perfectly into the little hole here. Everywhere around the van apart from this point is plastic, so it's the only spot that I can connect this jack that's solid. Okay, so I've wound the jack up and it's just taken hold into that little small hole on that steel section there behind the front wheel. So now I just continue and I'll do this. I'll raise the cab for 4 or 5 inches. Okay guys, I have just nipped into Bunnings and I've bought this little guy here. It's a 1/2 inch socket connection. There's a little packet that came in. I suppose the 50 refers to it being 50 mils long. But the 1/2 inch, that's this little square at the top. What that refers to is the little 1/2 inch square that fits quite comfortably into my 19 mil socket. Now this 19 mil socket is the same size as my 19 mil wheel brace, which means instead of winding and winding and winding for several minutes on end, I can now connect this to my little impact driver. And instead of winding around and around and around and around, I can just mechanically wind it up, which makes life so much easier. I'll show you in a demo shortly. And there we see the wheel is just about off the ground, and this makes life a lot easier. Yeah, it's off. Now I haven't put my block here today. The ground's actually quite hard and I just found it a bit easier manoeuvring this around without it, but I was keeping an eye to make sure that it doesn't sink into the ground, and if it did, then I put my block underneath it. So my jack's in position, it's taken up where it should be, and I check just by touching the trigger a few times that this is turning clockwise. I put my socket onto the jack. It's a bit noisy. Okay, my wheel's off the ground. So now, or actually I can do them. Oops. By this little guy. Here we go. So all the wheel nuts are loose. Undo these wheel bolts completely. Just put them beside the ground here, and once I've done this, my wheel will just slip off. Now I've got my spare tyre back up under the van, but this shows you exactly what to do. Now I'm going to just pull this off by hand. There we go, I've taken the tyre off, the wheel off. Slip my wheel back on again. once again I'm one-handed. Just line up these little bolts into the holes there. There we go. Now when I tighten these wheel nuts up completely, I won't be doing them around the clock like this. I was always taught, and this is just my little method, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kind of tighten the bolts opposite each other once at a time. Because if you do them around the clock, you may pull the whole wheel in and not realise it. And even though these ones may seem tight, they won't be. So you just got to do it all like in a star or a crisscross pattern, just to make sure that the wheel completely lines up all around. So now, as I said, if I tighten this one up by hand, then I'll go opposite. Go opposite. Oops. The one-handed mechanic. Opposite. So there we go. We know, or I know, that I can do the job on the side of the road. And because I loosened them off with my foot, I'll do the same. I'll just give them a crimp with my foot at the very end, once the jack's back down again, of course. That's pretty good. And another thing I always do, I always recommend, is even once you've changed the tyre and you've put the wheel on, drive a few Ks and then pull over again in a safe spot and just check that those wheel nuts haven't come loose. I'm a bit paranoid about that. And now, yeah, you can see as I'm turning the wheel nuts, I'm also turning the wheel a little bit. So now I'm at the stage where I can drop the wheel back down again, drop the jack back down again, and just tighten those nuts up by hand. Yeah, how good's this little guy? Slip him on, and it's going down. That has made life so easy. What was originally taking me a few minutes is now taking me a few seconds. So remember, clockwise tightens. What do they say? Righty tighty, turn to the right. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. But I always know that my little thing is clockwise. Once again, you can see I'm doing these wheel nuts in a star type order. Excuse all the puffing and panting and grunting and groaning, but that's just how I get the job done. Here we go. Lucky last. Okay, so 1, 2, yep, 3, oh, he's not moving at all, 4, and 5. Yeah. Oh, they're all nice and tight. And push it in. The one-handed mechanic does again. Oh, mission accomplished. Okay. So I'm just in front of the rear wheel. I've got my jack, and as you can see, I've got a little bulb steel part on top of the jack. And again, forgive me because there's a very tight space here. I'm going blind. At the front of the shock, there's a nice solid steel point, and I can, if you can see here, there's a little hole here, which the little bulb on my jack fits perfectly into. There it is, and there we go. I've got the jack on that bit of timber there. He's The little knob on the top of the jack has slipped right into that little housing area in front of the shock there. Nice big steel support, very strong beam. And I'm slowly, it's taken up the slack now, I'm slowly raising the van. Always hard giving these demos with one hand. But yeah, I can see the van starting to rise now. Okay, one thing I forgot to mention is this little tow bolt accessory with my little hubcap removal tool. I've already done this. I pop this little cover off, and inside there you'll see a threaded area where this little bolt slides into. We tighten him up fully, and that becomes our towing point should we need to tow out, cable tow, tow truck, whatever. Yeah, so I won't tighten that up all the way, but that way you all know where he goes and what he does. I might just pop him back in by hand. There we go. Look at this. Filthy and little battle scars everywhere. Yeah. But at least I know I can take a tyre off. Change the wheel. Okay, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please consider subscribing, liking and sharing with others. Any questions or thoughts, please leave them in the comment section below. And safe travels everyone. See you out there. Bye bye.